Hello, welcome to Postcolonial Space. I'm Masood Raja and I'm recording this video by the bank of Ohio River because I'm visiting family, my wife's family in Ohio. So just recently I had uploaded a video in which I had openly requested for all of you to send me your questions and queries so that I can have them at a central place under a video and then whenever possible respond to them. And some good questions have already come in, and in this video I'll address one set of those questions. And the main question was, why is it that American literature is not included within post-colonial studies, even though America was at one point colonized? So this question, it's interesting to me because these were the issues that were raised originally when the field of post-colonial studies was just being sort of settled. And the first works that came out, like the book by Bill Ashcroft and others called The Empire Writes Back, I think it came out in 1986. In that book, Bill Ashcroft and others, they do not distinguish between settler colonialism and non-settler colonialism. And so they included Australian, British, Canadian, and American literature, not British, American literature as part of the post-colonial canon. But the reason we don't include them now is because we distinguish between settler colonial literature and post-colonial literature. And settler colonies are those spaces where the European settlers came in, the European colonizers came in, but settled and ousted the native populations, like in New Zealand, Australia, United States, Canada. And if it is the literature produced by the dominant Caucasian settler groups, in our view as post-colonialists, that still represents the dominant colonizer's point of view, generally speaking, right? There can be critiques of settler colonialism themselves in those works. Hence, they are not included as post-colonial texts. The second, more macrological reasons for this, of course, is the power dynamic. I mean, United States is the most powerful nation on the planet. Some would say that it's also an imperial power. So ipso facto, including all literature produced in United States as post-colonial would defeat the purpose of post-colonial studies, which challenges these kind of global imperatives. But we do work in solidarity with all the people within America or Canada who are writing what is considered ethnic literature, African American literature, or minority literatures. We work in solidarity with them, we borrow from them, and sometimes incorporate it within the canon of post-colonial studies. Another reason for not including American literature or American authors into the canon of post-colonial studies is just micrological. Because every English department here in the United States is organized as British Lit and American literature. So American literature is already an established field of study with its own periods and conceptual and other broad areas within which scholars do their work. So there is no need to have American literature, as part of the post-colonial lit canon. Now, one other thing that complicates the picture is that the work of diasporic authors, may they be the first generation or second generation, by and large, we include them in the canon of post-colonial studies. And if you look at England, Salman Rushdie, right, Hanif Qureshi. If you look at United States, Papsi Sidhwa, like even Bharti Mukherjee, who herself doesn't consider herself a post-colonialist, but we do use their works in a post-colonial course or post-colonial research. Sometimes we also, of course, incorporate the works by Latin American authors. or Hispanic authors. The problem there isn't that they don't like being included in post-colonial studies. The main thing is that Latin American studies and Chicano literature and Hispanic literature, they have their own separate fields of studies, they have their own departments, but there is correspondence between post-colonial studies in them. So I hope this answered the question, albeit briefly, as to why we do not include mainstream literatures from United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, which were all at one time colonized or were at least part of the British Empire. And the reason simply is that these countries are settler colonies and they are powerful nations in the world, and hence their literature may not be very useful to post-colonial studies, and partially also because these literatures are already incorporated within the British or American literature studies. So that's all by way of an answer. I hope this answered your question. If you have any further questions, please feel free to post them in the comments and I'll be happy to address them. Please also keep in mind that sometimes the questions that you might be posing is probably already answered in some other video. So it's always a good thing to just search the channel and see what is available. By this point, I think there are more than 570 videos available on different topics related to post-colonial and literary studies. But I don't mind if you don't do that and just post a question. I'll try my best to answer those. That's all. Thank you so much. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you enjoy this ambient noise around me, a lot of birds and the river noises. I will now see you next time. Until then, as always, peace and love.